His hands stay inside his shoulders, open with the inside leg, close with the outside leg. Nice, soft, easy contact, communicating with the horse and bringing her nose and being able to see her eye a little bit on the side that he is going to. Now we're going to focus on Cody's free arm. As a competent rider, that hand should not be bouncing. If he's going to go in the Chopin, this is a common position, especially in a horsemanship or equitation class. He holds his hand just like he would if he was riding with two reins, basically. Now, there are some other options. He can put his hand on his leg if he's just out trail riding and just rest it on his thigh. And sometimes in the Chopin, we also just drop our hand behind our thigh, nice and close to his body, straight down. Now back and show it on your thigh again. So for trail riding, we just don't want that hand flapping around. And if you're going to go to the Chopin, Cody, where would your hand go? Another type of rein that we sometimes see with Western riders is called a Romel. A Romel is a Y-shaped rein. It is not very practical to train in or to ride with two hands because you can't get your hands far enough apart. But it is used quite often in competitions. I want you to notice the rider's left hand. When you hold the Romel rein, you hold it just like an ice cream cone. Your thumb is at the top, your baby finger is at the bottom, and there are no fingers allowed between the reins. You must hold the tail, which is called the Romel, in your other hand. There should be 16 inches between your hands, or at least 16 inches, and generally you rest your hand on your thigh. So this is an acceptable rein to use, but it is not very practical if you're doing training or riding with two hands. Sometimes we have problems getting our horses to back up. If we're having trouble getting them to back up when we're on their back, a good place to start is on the ground. So I'm going to lead this horse forward a little bit, then I'm going to stop him. When I stop him, I'm going to put all of my reins in my left hand. My right hand I'm going to use as a biter. We talked about horses and herd instinct, how other horses bite each other when they want them to go. We don't want to see in here pushing on him. He weighs 1,000 pounds. I can't push 1,000 pounds, but I can bite him and make him move out of my space. So here we have him. I'm going to use my thumb right above the shoulder. It's just going to be bite off, bite off, bite off, and I'm going to ask him to back up. At the same time, I'm going to ask him a little bit with the pressure of the reins on the bit. So here we go, and bite, and bite, and bite, and bite. So we make sure that the horse understands if he doesn't move back when I put that little bit of pressure on the reins, I am going to bite him. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the reins, just a very little bit. And if he doesn't go, bite him, bite him, bite him. Okay, so it's not push harder here, it's bite. One more time, this time I'm not going to bite him. So bring him up, stop him, and softly push, and he should back up. When the English rider backs up, what we want to see is two direct reins. They will close their legs on the horse and lean slightly forward, ask the horse to flex at the poll and the jaw, and then they will ask the horse to back up. If it wants to scratch his head, we can live with that, but notice how steady she is and just ask the horse. Look at its legs. As it's backing up, those legs should be moving in pairs. So she certainly backed up 8, maybe 10 steps. But the horse is not yet moving in diagonal pairs. So she will ride forward again and ask the horse again. So a nice stop, flex the horse at the poll, lean a little forward, close her legs, and ask with her hands. So she's going to squeeze and ask the horse to come back. 1, 2, 3, and stop. She got 3 steps with the horse coming in diagonal pairs. So at this level, the rider often can't feel whether the horse is moving in diagonal pairs. So coaches, that's your job, to watch and see if it's happening. The Western rider does not change their position to back up. They sit square. They again start with their hands, flex the horse at the pole and the jaw, and when the horse is ready, they have 2 choices. They can just cluck and open their legs, or they can kick a little bit with their legs until the horse starts to come back. Watch the horse's legs now, and the horse is almost moving in diagonal pairs. There we go. It's getting closer all the time. All right, we saw a little bit of resistance there. So he's going to ride her ahead again. Just hesitate, bring her head down, and ask her again. And stop, pushing on the heels, bring her head down, and back up. Nice and soft. Okay, and we're going to try it again because you're doing it right, coach. She's just not moving in diagonal pairs. Use your outside right leg a little more. And stop, and jiggle your hands, and slowly bring your hands out a little bit wider. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's getting better. So we keep practicing this until we get the legs to fall in that 2-beat rhythm. The next skill that we're going to work on is called a turn on the forehand. The forehand is the front and the shoulders and front legs of the horse. So if we turn on the forehand, that means the front legs stay still and the back end moves. So before she even tries it from a mounted position, she's going to try it on the ground. So notice how she will shorten her left rein and put it on the saddle blanket so that the horse's head is tipped towards her. So she'll shorten that rein to make that happen. Her other hand is going to act like her foot, and she's going to touch him right where her foot would touch him, right behind the stirrup, and she's going to push his hip over. So just little tiny bumps and little clucks, and 1 or 2 steps, and hesitate, and then she's going to give him a pat, and now she's going to ask him again, hand up where her hand would be if she was riding. Make sure you don't get your hand way far back, because when you're riding, your leg doesn't go back on their butt. So your hand needs to be right where it would be when you are riding. An easy way to introduce your horse to turn on the forehand is to just walk it calmly down the rail. Stop it, let it relax. Keep your legs off the horse. Open one rein and slowly turn its head to the fence. Then add your left leg and just hold and turn and release. The horse is rewarded because as it turns, it gets to straighten its spine, and that's the reward for the horse. You don't let go with your hand, but you push its hip. So we're going to assume the 4 jugs on the ground here are a wall. The rider rides up along the wall and then just sits quietly and breathes. If your horse is antsy and wiggly, he won't have all his weight on his front end, and therefore it will be hard for him to do this exercise. Once he's relaxed like this horse is now, the rider's going to use her right hand and tip his head towards the wall. When his head is around at about 3 o'clock, she's just going to hold it there for a few seconds because soon he's going to want to straighten that head out. But instead of letting go of the rein, she's just going to put her right leg back and push his butt around to straighten his spine, and both have achieved exactly what they want. The horse has a straight spine, and in getting the straight spine, he moved his butt to get it done. The third step in teaching a turn on the forehand is, again, to ride up along the wall. Wait until the horse is relaxed. When it's relaxed, the rider's just going to use a very small amount of pressure on their right rein to tip the horse's head just a hair to the right. Then right leg goes back, supports a little bit with that outside rein, and just quietly pushes this horse around. very slowly and very softly. The next step is, when the horse is ready and quiet, move away from the wall. So now we're interested in that pivot leg. The boot leg should be the leg that stays stationary. So she's going to apply the aids basically the same, except without as much bend. The head will be turned just a slight bit to the right. Right leg goes back, supports with her left rein, turns the horse slowly, and the right leg is allowing that horse to move into that space. So unless he moves backwards, she's not using that right leg at all. So now we're ready to ask our rider threes to multitask. They are riding forward in a circle, driving those horses' hind legs up underneath them. They're asking those horses to bend with their inside leg, inside rein, and support rein. Then, as they come through the cone, they're adding a leg yield. So we have bend coming into the cones and leg yield out, leaving the cones, and then right back to normal forward jog with motion, driving up behind, getting that horse to go forward. So this is another aspect in developing collection. Step 1, energy from behind. Step 2, develop bend. Step 3, support with the outside rein. And step 4, add that inside leg so the horse goes a little bit sideways in a leg yield for just a few strides. And then we're going to try it all over again. A little bit more energy coming forward. And nice and soft. And go forward again. Congratulations! If you and your horse have completed Rider 3, you have now completed your elementary education, and you should now be excited about going to middle school. Is it going to be fun? For sure. Is it going to be hard work? You bet at times. Is it going to be frustrating? But the best part of all is when you get to that point where you and your horse are communicating, so things are easy to do, it is so rewarding. You are now ready to become a horseman, a person who can easily communicate with their horse and are now a team member. You have a job to do, and so does your horse, but you are the #1 leader of the team. If you do your job properly, then with time, the horse will too. Good luck, let's go. So what do we expect for a Rider 4 to do in a warm-up? Step 1, drive the horse up from behind. No longer are we going to allow them to drag their hind feet way out behind them. Step 2, they're going to open that inside rein, way open, release the outside rein, and slowly start to bring that horse's head towards their foot. What do we want to see? We want to see this horse's head soft at the poll and soft at the jaw and giving, like this horse is right now. Now, what's the next step? Now the rider's going to change that open rein to a direct rein. So her inside hand is going to come back towards her hip. Her outside hand's going to pick up the slack, and she's going to bring that horse's head. Instead of it being at 10 o'clock, the head is now going to be at 12 o'clock. So she's still asking her with her legs to go forward, and notice the chin has dropped towards the horse's chest. The horse is nice and soft at the poll, and the horse is willingly going forward. Notice the rider's hand. She's not pulling that horse back, she's pushing it forward. Right from Rider 1, we have been talking about flexing the horse's head to 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock with that open rein. Here we have the rider displaying that. Other times you'll change that rein to a direct rein and lift actually almost straight up and actually help the horse to lift its shoulders. So your flexion exercises after rider 3, you can include the direct rein and help to lift the shoulders as well as using the open rein. All riders need to know how to extend their horses. Here we have an English rider doing a sitting trot. Notice how the horse is reaching up with its hind legs and driving up. Now the rider is going to ask for the horse to trot on. Notice the difference in the length of the horse's stride, and now the rider is doing a rising or posting trot in rhythm with that long stride. In rider 4, we're going to start working on a new shape. This shape is called the Serpentine. What's the Serpentine? A Serpentine is like the letter S, except it continues with as many loops as you want to do. We can have a 3-loop Serpentine or a 4-loop Serpentine. So what is it? It's a series of half circles joined together with a straight line right where the markers are. So as you watch the markers, on each side of the marker, for about a horse length, the horse should be totally straight. By rider 4, the rider should be able to bend the horse on the circle, as we see this rider doing here. Nice and soft, nice and relaxed. And as she approaches the pylons, she will allow the horse to go perfectly straight. Then she will use her right leg and rein and bend it to create the second half circle. So it's not like V's or mountains. You do not ride diagonally across. You ride straight lines, so they are half circles joined together with a straight line for about a horse length on each side of the marker on the AC or center line. So what can we practice with this shape? We can practice diagonals. Here we have our English rider making a nice approach to the set of markers, and we should see her change her diagonal here. And the change should occur right as she goes through the markers. So we'll watch her come back. So this takes a fair amount of concentration on the rider's part. Keep the horse going forward in a trot, keep the shape correct, and change the diagonal. At first, we recommend that you don't go with a lot of speed because your brain needs time to feel the horse and get the message from the horse's back to your brain, back to your body to get that change done. So here we've seen a rider do a nice series of diagonal changes on the AC line. Another exercise that we can do and use the Serpentine shape is we can practice bend. So here we are making it a little more challenging. At rider 3 we introduced bend. Now, after we've practiced it for a while at rider 4, we should be able to change the bend of our horses every time we pass the double set of pylons. We introduced the rein of opposition in rider 3. We listed a number of occasions that it could be used on. Here we have a horse coming around the corner with its head to the outside. That's very common for a rider 3 rider. In rider 4, this rider is now going to use the rein of opposition to correct that problem. So her right rein is the rein of opposition. The other rein is supporting. Her inside leg is pushing the horse's ribs a bit to the outside, and the outside leg will keep the horse going forward if necessary. So we'll review that again. As she comes around the corner, she does not want her horse to go around the corner with its head to the outside. So she will start right now using a right rein of opposition. She will support with her outside rein. Her inside leg will be pushing the horse's shoulders over, and she will just stay nice and soft and ride the horse through the corner. So he's now going to do what is called a reverse arc band. Drive the horse forward, rein of opposition on the outside, going towards his inside shoulder, keeping her trotting forward, tipping her head to the outside, using his outside leg to bend her the wrong way. And if you look at her feet, you can see that red boot crossing over in front of her solid colored leg. Often riders, when they come around the corner, they're not paying attention to driving the horse into the corner, and we see lots of corners ridden like this, where the horse is just kind of coming around, but he's not really doing his job. This is the perfect opportunity for us to use that rein of opposition to fix it. English riders in particular will use a rein of opposition behind the withers. So here we have the rider driving her horse up behind, preparing him to ride that corner correctly. Her rein of opposition with her left hand will be behind the withers to ask the horse to not only yield his shoulders, but also his rib cage, and the outside rein supports, and the left leg is doing all the work. By rider 4, we are expecting our riders to be able to do a walk to canter transition. So she's walking forward towards 3 pylons. At pylon 1, she'll think about what the aids are. At pylon 2, she will apply the aids. And by pylon 3, she should be cantering and staying nice and soft. Here we saw the horse think about taking the wrong lead, but then took the correct one. She's cantering nice and soft on the correct lead, and we're going to go back to those same 3 pylons and do the same thing. Pylon 1, she will think about the downward aids to the walk. Pylon 2, she will apply, and by pylon 3, the horse is walking calmly.